So, welcome to the studio. Ollie is in there, is going to give you a talk and a bit of walk around the studio. I'll pass the mic over to him. Obviously, please help yourself to refreshments or anything else that's here while you wait. You've got the famous Lemmy stack, obviously.
Yeah.
Lemmy was a big friend of Jim's on the way. Always constantly the pair of them smoking cigars.
Interesting looking coloured one over there, JCA 900 and the...
Yes, there's the snakeskin bird beige one.
Okay.
There's the unit with the red, there's the curtains that used to be actually in the theatre at the time. Yeah. I knew there was one over here somewhere.
What's it made of? The curtains?
The curtains was actually the actual main curtains, a cloth. It just there was hanging on the sides of the walls in the theatre at that time, but obviously they took them all down when obviously that's got to be soundproofed and everything else. The actual floor had to be raised as well. Everything had to be made soundproofed in there and everything else. So there was a lot of work that went involved to make it into a studio. Right, Ollie.
Hello.
So,
right, if anybody wants to know about the control room,
have any of you been here before? Seen this stuff before? I recognise a few of you, I think. Yeah, so a lot of you know a lot about this stuff already. But welcome to the Marshall Studio. This is the main heart of the building, obviously. We've made a few new additions since last time, I think, but I can't really remember. The years blend into the same one. But obviously, the centrepiece is the 1974 Neve 048, and this is our desk. She's still in amazing condition, completely working. Blake, who couldn't be here this year, has been in throughout the year. You know, he's been fixing everything as it goes. Not really had a single problem, which is amazing. Currently have two very heavy amps on top of the patch bay, so I don't know, like, we'll see what the structural integrity of the actual frame is over the course of the day, but should be okay. Throughout the talk, I'm just playing a few of the Atmos mixes. So basically, throughout the year, we've been converting all of the backlog of Marshall Records music into Atmos. So if you look around the room, we've got loads of Atmos speakers, 7.1.4. I can't remember if they were here last time. No? That's a new addition. So 7.1.4 Atmos. And yeah, it's been good fun. You can see what's actually going on in the room there. Obviously it's not very loud right now. I'll turn it up a bit later if you guys want to hear it. But each green spot is telling you where the signal is coming out at any point, and they'll disappear if there's nothing coming out, even if it might be very quiet. Our outboard equipment might have changed a bit since last time, if anyone's been here. We've got a few new API pieces. Stereo Manley Pultec EQ, but I think apart from that it's mainly stayed the same. We've kind of found what works for the room, we found what works for us, and we don't feel the need for anything else really. And if someone does want to bring some other pieces of outboard with them, then we just plug them in. Works perfectly.
This is a giant mixer desk, yeah?
It is. It's a 1974 Neve 048 desk in RAF blue grade, because the Neve factory was actually they just used all the spare bits from RAF bases. So it's actually all made out of aircraft parts really, which is why all the dials and switches and everything look the way they look, which is really, really cool. On a traditional desk like this, you would never get a screen in the middle really. You'd have it on a table to the side, and then and that's even only speaking recently. Even before that, it was just a tape machine and a tape op. But this has sort of been built for the studio with a one-person operation in mind. Classically, you'd have one person on the patch bay, one person controlling the computer or the tape, and then another person actually controlling the faders and the input gains and everything like that. But nowadays, everything's got to be built for one-person operation because of many reasons. A lot of them, well, the main one is a lot of bands don't really have the budget for an engineer, a tape op, an editor, and a producer. Like, usually they're all one person, and they come under the role of producer nowadays, even though it's probably the vaguest word and the most used word in the music industry at the minute. But yeah, as for monitoring, hasn't really changed. NS10s, we blew that one up, so I had to replace it with one, but the logo's around the wrong way and it's really annoying. Quest heads, still the mains. Nothing else in here has really changed. If anyone's got any questions about the room, please feel free.
So each column is one channel. Yeah.
Yeah. So this controls the monitor section, but for each channel is your sensitivity, is what Neve like to call it, but it's input gain, and then your EQ bands. 1093s have an extra band of EQ compared to 1073s when it comes to Neve, and then this is your bus section, so you're telling it which bus group you want it to send to on the desk. And then you've got pan and more foldbacks for reverbs and stuff like that. So it's one of those just 40 times.
That's not how it works, it's secret. You can't let anyone know, Ollie.
Well, it was a specific question that I'm answering.
I don't know what bus is.
So a bus is like a group. So imagine you had all these channels from 25 to 32 were all drums. And let's say, for example, you had drums, bass and guitar, and you wanted to be able to set the levels there and then all send them to one place, so you can turn all the drums down in one go, all the bass down in one go, all the guitar down in one go. So if you set...
Bus, literally, because all of the signal gets on and goes to one place.
Exactly. Much better said. So then it would then show up over here. So these are the buses. So then 1 and 2, for example, if they were drums, that would be your drums left, drums right.
How big a band can you accommodate?
As well, I mean, effectively anything within reason, unless you say the band's for 100 people. But
I've done orchestras.
yeah, we can pretty much do everything. We've got a really wide selection of microphones, amps, drum kits. We haven't had a band yet that has been too big.
You could do a symphony orchestra as well.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's big.
We probably might have to rent some stuff.
I used to do symphony orchestras live for like proms and stuff, like fireworks and that kind of thing. You could do a 90-piece orchestra with 40 microphones.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which orchestra you have in mind and how many.
Yeah. And that was like the Royal Philharmonic, and that would be loud.
Yeah.
To get over microphone, fireworks and like a prom in a park type thing. Yeah. In fact, everything lands is a Deca-tree, which is 3 microphones.
Yeah, I've had an accordionist in one of my shows wanted 3 mics on his accordion. Is that common? An instrument with 3 mics?
I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on the instrument, but we've filled up a whole drum kit, 40 microphones. On
Yeah. Like literally all of these channels we'll use on potentially just a drum kit, and then for an acoustic guitar we use like up to 4 mics maybe for that as well, and then
Also, the accordion obviously has a high treble and a low bass bit, so that might be you need 1 for each and then a bit of room for everything. Right?
3 is probably normal, but I think you can make something as detailed as you want it to be, I guess.
I think
It causes more problems.
Any question you ask Ollie, the answer begins with "it depends."
Yeah. Every answer is it depends. What do you want being the main question?
So what's the underlying software?
Pro Tools.
Pro Tools.
Not showing up right now. This is the control software for the Atmos system and how we switch between digital audio from the actual computer to then actually control from the desk itself. That's what this is right now behind this. But the main recording software we use is Pro Tools. We can use anything, but we just prefer to use Pro Tools here. It's technically industry standard, but that doesn't really mean anything nowadays. You can do anything with anything. They're all just as good as each other, as long it's just whatever you're most comfortable with and best at using.
How would you get the blend of sort of all this analog gear running into something very digital and sort of new compared to the rest of what's in here?
Like, how would you do it?
No, I'm
If you-
asking like how does it like sort of blend together? How does it
actually work? Right, so you put something up in the room,
Yeah.
you stick a mic in front of it, you say you want it to go into wall box A, then on the back of this patch bay you plug in wall box A
Right.
on channels 1 to 8, for example. And then the signal comes into the desk through the wall because you've told it where the signal's coming from.
Yeah.
And after the preamp and EQ, at that point there, it gets sent to the digital to analog conversion,
Right.
which are these Focusrites here. Right.
Okay.
So the signal goes in, it goes from analog to digital, and then comes back out.
Depending where you're in the software.
depending where you route it. But then it'll go from there into tools, and then out of tools it's routed to come back down and be converted back into analog again to then use the monitor section of the desk.
Okay. That's very complicated.
So that's how it runs here, but again, it depends on your studio setup and like where you want that conversion to be.
Right.
So
what's crazy is this desk was built in 1974, but like designed in 1970, and the people that designed it were such visionaries that in 2025 we still find new ways of using it. And all our jobs is turning things up and down again and moving it around.
yeah,
We want it to seem complicated and all that, but it's not. And how you choose to make so we've done records where we've done it fully analog. We've done records where, I mean, right now the console is acting as a giant Focusrite. It's got like a left and right out. Pro Tools, this PT left and right.
Yeah.
We had loads of stuff coming in. I've mixed it down to just left and right on the out, and that's acting like your Focusrite Scarlett in your bedroom, and anything in between. So, hey, it depends.
it
on
depends. It can be as complicated as you want it to be.
Right.
Is there a tunnel running under the floor to the stage accommodating a big snake full of leads?
We've got there's a tunnel all the way round the room for snake to leads, but actually I don't know where it runs, but it's through the wall. Yeah, it's literally everywhere. We've got
Use any networking?
Yeah, so we have physical microphone lines that go to each wall box. As you go into the control room, you'll see them. But also, the reason why we have those Focusrites as our conversions, they also run on a thing called Dante, which is audio over IP. So the front of house console and the monitor console are able to transmit audio over Dante, so we can have it in that way. But we also have a 5G connection on the roof,
yeah.
which does turn you back, so you know. It links to the stadium, and in 2022 we recorded My Chemical Romance
Over
stadium
over 5G.
over 5G in here. So
Yeah.
you have a mixture of wire and analog lines. I hate being on film. And it's not my good side. That's my good side.
And
Cat5 cables and.
the 5G thing was when we did it, it was like an experiment really. We didn't even know if it was going to work. We didn't know what latency was going to be like. Was there going to be latency between channels, so when it records in, it's all offset from each other? We don't know. But it worked perfectly, which, I mean, considering the speed of 5G, in theory you can then record into this room from anywhere in the country, based on the signal.
Did you get any delay?
There was a delay from point to point, but it wasn't.
As long as the delay is consistent.
Yeah, it was a consistent delay, so every single channel was delayed the same amount, so it wasn't a problem. So we had a stream up, so we were watching the show and listening to the audio coming through the console at the same time, and there was maybe a slight delay, but very minor.
There's a reason why we're so weird, because we have to have all of this 1970s technology with 40,000 solder joints in it and 5G network in our heads at the same time.
Yeah. And then you got to remember all Pro Tools key commands, and then you have a fight with Logic every day when you have to use it.
Yeah, I'm a bit.
Did the delay on the sound give you a problem with the video syncing?
No, because that wasn't like the end goal was not to make a video or anything like that. The video was just for our ease of use, to really see what was going on. So if maybe the show stopped, we knew it wasn't us making a mistake or something like that. It was more for context clues rather than to the product to be a video.
Do the guitars ever plug? The guitars, they plug straight into the mixer, or do they always plug into an amplifier and you mic up the amp?
Depends. Again.
I'm guessing you do reamping stuff here as well.
Yeah, so we can reamp stuff all the time, which is where you send the DI back out into a reamp box and then into a different amp and then record it back in again. Or we quite often, so the heads are there on the desk, on the patch bay now, and what we'll do is we'll plug that into one of the speaker lines over there that then come out wherever you decide in the room, so you can send speaker signal through the wall, so we can mic a cab up in there and then listen in here to what actually the microphone sounds like in front of the cab rather than being in front of a cab.
So here's a question. Are you finding more simulators being recorded or amps?
Oh god,
Depends.
it depends. It really depends. But again, what genre are we talking about? Because that makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
What's the budget? What's the budget? Is it a big band? Is it a small band? 'Cause
So we
that makes
see
a huge
ourselves as,
difference.
Converters. So yeah, like, let's be honest, if you have a baritone or a 7-string and you're playing in drop A stupid, digital amps have almost become the genre. You can't really, using a real amp, no matter what it is, get that super low tone. And that's fine, because that's people that have done their own thing and they've made their own, effectively, digital. It's like a keyboard, it's like a digital thing.
Yeah.
But quite often we'll have a band come in and they'll say, hey, this is the amp I use and this is the I use. And we'll say, how about we just plug an amp in? Or we'll plug a cab in and see how it goes. And 9 times out of 10, they fade it up and go, Christ, that sounds amazing, what's that? You go, the Marshall 4x12. They go, oh wow, that's so cool. But you know, the majority of people now, especially their demos, are done at home with digital stuff, and that's totally fine. Billie Eilish made a record that sold a bajillion copies on her laptop. Like, and we're not against any of that, we're actually there to help that.
Yeah.
Like small 20-watt amps that work in your bedroom and will go into your IR or whatever. All the way through to
100
watt monster
Yeah.
that makes your neighbours want to.
The thing is, I don't actually think it matters. I think both sound really good. But I think it's okay to say that, even if you work for Marshall. I think it doesn't really matter.
But I think often you find there's a difference, and the difference is in the feel when you play.
I definitely agree that digital amps do feel different, but
I feel like now that time's moved on a bit, and you know that technology is now considerably further forward than it used to be. I feel like that's kind of a redundant statement, especially with things. I mean, I watched I had a go with and watched a review of the Orange baby series that they've just brought out.
That's why it is. Fucking hell.
Which is it's a completely solid state amp, just little 100 watt boxes, but if you dial them up right and you know what you're doing with it, you get the feel of a valve amp, despite the fact it's not.
I think it depends on what amp you're talking about, to be honest, because I don't think it's a redundant statement, because if you plug in a JTM 45 in real life and play that, it's the most unforgiving thing ever. You turn on your quad cortex and put the JTM 45 patch on, you'll have a much easier time and it'll be a lot less unruly. So I think the feel thing is a real statement, but I think in terms of sound quality, if you were to record both and then play them back to someone, they'd be like, both sound great. Do you know what I mean? But I think, it's diminishing returns really. It doesn't really, doesn't matter. Use what you use. Like my rig that I use live is both.
Yeah.
So I use a quad cortex, and then that runs into either the front or the effects loop of a JCM 800, just with the cab sub turned off on that end, and then you use them both at the same time, and you get the best of both worlds. Like, you can do everything then.
Also, when I mix something, you spent ages getting your lovely amp tone and all that. And I chop off all the low end. I put a compressor on it, and you know the tones that you love on records aren't ever the sound of the amp in the
No, 100%.
So whatever you're able to do to create your tone is completely fine. And if you don't want to buy our amps, buy our headphones and speakers instead. But keep me employed.
Well, over here you've got rows of 1/4-inch jack inputs. What are they connected to?
So that's every input and output of everything in the room and the building, basically. So that's a way to interrupt the signal flow from anywhere in the patch bay, but like from anywhere in any of the equipment we're talking about today.
So it's actually GPO.
GPU.
Yeah, what your nan would have used in the telephone exchange.
Yeah.
Looks like a telephone exchange motherboard.
So they're not 1/4-inch jack inputs.
No. GPO stands for General Post Office, so they were literally the telephone exchange thing. And yeah, so what you're looking at is effectively on here 1 to 40, which is the 1 to 40 on the console. And then you've got all of the different places along the console you can interrupt the signal for either putting a compressor on or changing where it goes into Pro Tools. Over here is where all of that lives. So when you're plugging channel 1 into a compressor, you do it across this patch here. It's just a a way of getting in and out of the console without having to go around the back and change the XLR.
Yeah, so it's complicated looking, but not that complicated.
Well, fancy that. I haven't seen one of them before. Yeah. This is in the Marshall Studio section. I'll just have a walk around just to show you. If you've never been here. Good selection of everything really, I guess. Even got the stage. I'm not sure if it's the same stage. It might be where Gary Moore played, if you remember. Maybe or not, because I know they changed the place around a lot. But as you can see, yeah, very presentable. Carry on round. Lots of Marshall gear, as you might imagine. Yeah, I wonder if they work. Probably. That's an interesting one. That one. Yeah, I don't see many of them sitting on a peg. Yeah, certainly. Oh, the YJM. I wonder if it is the YJM. Or it's just a cover. Could be either. Yeah. And they've got a sort of desk in here, which is not the main desk, you've already seen that. More of a PA desk, isn't it? Oh, Digico, fancy that. Yeah. And George Michael's piano. Well, it was his. It isn't now. So the great question is, how many amps can you name? Go.
We're going to studio once the last party go out again there. But
Oh my God. It's an F word. There it is, hidden out the way. Yeah. And a few pedals. Oh, they're a lot to look at, aren't they? All very nice. Indeed, very nice. A few amps hidden around the back there, if you have a good look. Oh, the JCM 900 small 20 watt. There it is. What more can you say? Yeah. That's a bit of a body blow, isn't it? Yeah. Oh. This is a look at the whole studio. With a few people in it. If you've got enough money, you can come and get your audio. If you've got enough money, you can get your music recorded in here. For what that's worth. Might be the best thing in the world. Who knows? And there it is. That is almost the Marshall trip of April the 3rd, 2025. Oh, you want to buy a few bits?